On today's special episode of Homeworthy, we're journeying to the sun-drenched shores of the Mediterranean to explore 3 truly extraordinary homes. First, we travel to a charming fishing village in Mallorca, where a decorator's home unfolds like a vibrant tapestry, layered with history, character, and her unmistakable artistic spirit. Then we sail south to Tangier, a magical Moroccan city perched at the edge of Africa, where a whimsical, richly layered retreat gazes out over the sparkling Mediterranean. And finally, still in Tangier, we step inside an enchanting home brimming with colorful textiles and storied treasures. This summer, spend the hottest months of the year in style with Homeworthy as we visit the most extraordinary homes around the world. From the sun-soaked shores of the Hamptons to the classic beachfronts of Nantucket to the vibrant courtyards of Morocco, be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy's summer series to make every day feel like a vacation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, I'm Amanda. Hello. This is Liberty and Olive. Welcome to our home in Deià.
Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles.
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name's Amanda Pickett and I'm a decorator here in Mallorca. This is my house in Deià. We've been here for 2 years now, and we were looking for somewhere that had a space for a studio and that had character, and we found this place. It's absolutely lovely. It's got 3 stories and a little terrace on the top, which is really magical. We can see the sea, and everything about it's old and quirky, and we love it so much. It's oozing character, which is always what we like. In the 17th century or even earlier, there was no roads coming here. Basically took a long time to get here, so mostly they came by boat and came up, and there was fishermen living here, and a lot of these old cottages are from the early days then, before roads. I'm the daughter of antique restorers, and I'm constantly surrounded by antiques, and it's my life and the way I live. So we've brought in a lot of things from Scotland and from around the world that necessarily you might not find here, but also a lot of it's come from here. So we make fabric that's made on the island, and we have more things. A lot of people in Mallorca tend to be a bit minimalist, and we're more maximalist, and we're more niche. You know, we're very niche with what we do. You know, not everybody quite probably likes it or gets it, but it's more refreshing to have something different, or everybody with something a little bit different, but definitely recognizable as being Pickett's house. Nothing is perfect, everything's a little bit damaged. I think that's because my parents were restorers and everything was perfect for them. For me, I'm more I like a little bit of faded grandeur, or I like something that's not quite perfect, or the outside isn't upholstered and you know, it's just thrown together. It seems it's evolved. It's like you've been around the world and brought something from everywhere. So this is the living room. This is basically where we chill out and sit around and watch movies and things like that. And it's full of quirky pieces. This is an old basket that we got from the market here in Mallorca, which happens every Sunday, which we love. And we have the day bed, which is French, and it's absolutely, you know, the best piece of furniture just for relaxing. Everybody fits on. We're a big family, so it's really a great space. And rather than a sofa, because we are limited, it's quite a small proportioned property, so it's quite nooks and crannies, and everything is got to work, because there's no space for anything that doesn't work. And we have, this is the picket stripe that we're developed and that we've designed and remade. Basically, it's an old, really old pattern, which is made on the island. It's a French bed, and I guess once upon a time there would have been two the same. And we found it, and the guy that had it said, nobody has looked at that for 20 years, and you're the first person. So it was a real joy for us. It's a real statement place to have it. As soon as you come in, we lie here and watch the people come and go and walk down and walk past, and you just listen to the sounds of people walking. It's really relaxing place to be. The canopy is probably from a church. I think that the carving suggests that it's from a church, and it's nothing to do with the bed itself, but looks perfect up there with the stripe. And the coffee table is a Chinese style. It's great with the cloud detail. I always like Oriental style mixed with European. And this is a Spanish elephant, which is more like some of the English ones, but much nicer to be this kind of buff yellow. These are all firing cracks that happened when they fired it. So it's not broken at all, but it does have the cracks, which I like. And this is an Irish mirror that we brought from the UK that we've had for a long time, that I really love them. And I mean, lots of people would restore the whole thing and have all the cabochons restored, but for me, I quite like the fact that it's imperfect. And a little hat that belonged to my children, but it's come from Tibet, and it's to ward off evil spirits. So it's all children had little hats like this, and it would have had a tail at some point, which is lost, sadly. But it's a family heirloom, something I really love. So we have a pair of these, and they're actually Irish stools. We covered them in the picket stripe, which is just a little bit fun. And they're stamped with the maker's mark and everything underneath. This is not original barber's pole, but basically that's what it is. It's a bit of our Oliver Twist side. I believe that things should be, everything the same to me can be a little bit boring. I mean, sometimes when you have an antique, finding the same thing is absolutely impossible. And I've tried it before when I've sold something and I felt, oh no, it's gone. And then you try to find something similar, but it's absolutely impossible. So we like everything to be a little bit, everything's unique. Nothing is, mass made. And this mirror is, I'm kind of not quite sure if it's Flemish or if it's Spanish, but it's got elements of Regency and the claw feet, which is a nice touch. And then we have the French sofa that I'm also not sure if it's English or French, but it's certainly French style. But I did buy it in England, and the casters make me think that it's probably an English sofa. Myself and my daughter, we painted these basically because we wanted to lift the ceiling because of the beams. Everything seems to be quite low with the ceilings, and this painting of the leaves really helped lift the height other than painting the beams, which is sort of kind of sacrilege to paint the beams, or some people might think so. So we kept it traditional Spanish, but with the painted little bits and bobs here and there. The beams, mostly the beams are original, but some of them have been replaced over time. But it's really Spanish to have the wood exposed rather than painted, which is much more English or American to have painted beams, which I like, but we chose to keep the beams. And the lanterns are Mallorcan. They make lots of lanterns here. So you find the star ones like you would find in Morocco, but they made them here. So that's quite nice. There's a lot of lanterns. The bird cages are something that my daughter wanted to hang. And she helps me a lot, and she does things that I wouldn't do. She does things that are sort of a little bit more trendy or fun in her eyes. So I quite like that. This painted cupboard, I don't really know where it comes from. I'm not quite sure about the origin. It's possibly Bavarian or it's maybe French. But we got it from a friend of ours, and that happens quite a lot, that people say, can you take some of, do you want this? You know, do you want my old stuff? And I always, if it's something like this, you know, I really love things like that. So the doors are really traditional Mallorcan doors. Most houses have them. We really love the shape, and we just wanted to make this awning, which is really rustic and brightens the whole place up when you enter, and also keeps the sun off the doorstep. I've basically, since I was about 8 years old, I've been selling antiques in my mum and dad's shop. They had a shop, and I would take things there and put them on the shelf, and then some of the antique dealers would buy things from me. So I guess it was inside, and I also used to draw antique furniture from the books, and at, you know, 10, 11, and it's quite a strange obsession, and that's probably deeply inherent in me, that I need to be around these things. And sometimes when I haven't managed to go and buy things, I feel it, you know, it's a real part of the way I am as a human being. Pickett's house was on the main street in Deià, and it was a beautiful, lovely place to have a store. It was an antique store, but I found that it was something that I didn't really need to have and be there every day. It was much more productive to have somewhere for the family as well, where my children can be safe and I can work in my studio. So we decided to come down here into a quiet part of the village where we can be safe. The children and the dogs are here, and we work and eat and live all in the same place. So it really works for us as a family to be on site. Follow me, and I'll take you through to the fire snug area. So this is really, really traditional Mallorcan to have this little area that everybody sits here in the winter and sits around the fire, and it's like, it's just the coziest place to be, but really intimate and really lovely. So this is, we have to watch our heads because it's very low. Everybody's got to be small. And then we did this scalloping with the leather just to take away, I mean, it's with the shells and everything, just to sort of keep it fisherman cottage, and this to hide the brown, because you don't want to paint all brown bits and bobs and wood. I've got a thing for these deity figures, these little guys that they're, you know, probably 15th century, you know, they're Ming and that sort of era. And I've just had a lot over the past, 20 years. And they're always something I find I get really attached to. They all have their little characters, and they were originally made by the family, and they're the ancestors of the family, and they would put their prayers in the back of them. And they have a little thing to put the prayers in the back. So I really love them. Some Chinese porcelain, which I love as well, and bits and bobs, things like this mammoth tooth, which is such a, to me, it's astounding. I don't even understand how that is actually a tooth, but that's a crazy thing. I love shells, and Chinese porcelain is a thing that I really love, and we don't see so much of it here, but we get lots in Scotland, so anytime I go back, I bring something back. I bought this, and it's one of the nicest curtains I've ever bought, which is really old, really thin chintz. It's probably French, and it's all sort of hand printed. I couldn't actually believe my eyes when I bought this, because I thought that it was such a bargain, and I thought it must be modern, but I couldn't believe that it's actually not. And it's, you know, it's beautifully aged, and it's in really good condition. And these are just simple striped curtains that we just made just to fit the space. This, I believe, is English, although I bought it here, which is a really lovely piece of treen, as they call it. And it's a little stand, or a miniature of a table. And they probably used to go around with these and say, this is how we can make a table. And then people would commission a table to be made like that. So I love that. The old boots that were a gift from my mum, she used to have them in her house. And then another deity figure. And the Howard and Sons wingback, which is another Isle of Wight thing, is covered in the replica Howard and Sons ticking. This is a Spanish lantern made from zinc. Absolutely, really heavy and stamped. It's Barcelona, probably around the Gaudi time. It's one of my most Spanish things that I actually have, which we really love. And at night time, it lets out the light, makes these patterns on the wall, which is really lovely. This is another thing that I got from my mother, and it's the most amazing cutout felt work with silk threads, 18th century, beautiful, amazing workmanship, so in-depth detail. Every single piece has been cut out and sewed on. It's not even, you know, applique, it's a much finer workmanship. Everything we have changes places. So this used to be on the wall, and it's like, it kind of hangs like a tapestry or something, you know, you could throw it on a bed. I've had it on beds before, but it's much too fragile to actually let people sleep with it. This Ottoman silk costume, which is reputed to be from Osborne House in the Isle of Wight, which I absolutely adore. We did the doors for fun. It's not probably something that I would do in anybody else's house. It was just that I felt like it really worked here. But it's not perfect by any shape or form, but it's really, it adds a little bit of happiness in the morning when you come down. I absolutely throw everything together. It's something that evolves. Things actually speak to each other, and then you didn't realize until you move them. And sometimes I'll move things, and then to everybody's disappointment, I'll say, let's move everything back and put it how it was. And everyone's like, really? We've just moved everything and now you want to put it back how it was? So you never know until you start playing around with things and moving things. Sometimes I'll even declutter, which some people might not realize, but a lot of times I put things away that might not, you know, and I sometimes do think, oh, it's too much. But everything seems to work together, and they all speak to each other, and it's fun. So, welcome to the Scottish room. We call it the Scottish room because of this bed, which we brought from Scotland, which was one of our first beds that we ever bought in Scotland, in St Andrews, in an auction. And it's gone everywhere with us. It's absolutely part of our family now, with the original silk headboard, which for me, you know, some people might change it because it's got a little bit old, but because it's the original silk, I don't want to change it. And these are batik cushions, which I used to have so many. But now it's just these two. I love batik, blue, indigo. This is a little meditation chair. it folds up and you can carry it around. I think that's the point, you know. So if you take the base and then it tucks into itself, so it's basically just a panel, and then they take it, carry it around and meditate. That's the idea, which it looks really great with books on it or anything. This is a very English Ottoman stool, which has a little bit of storage inside, which, I mean, they're so typical and traditional in the UK that I love them. They're so handy. And this is an oriental lacquered screen, which is vintage. It's a little bit more vintage than I usually go for, much more antique, but I do love this and the colours it brings into the room. And this is a Scottish hall chair, also an early purchase of mine. And scumbled, which is super traditional Scottish. And then these console tables, which are based on Chinese export stands. I made them instead of bedside cabinets so that they have a position. This is a bucket that we brought from Scotland that we've had for a long time. It's not from Scotland, it's probably Ethiopian, and it's a rice level, and they would level off, but ceremonial, and it's made from one piece of wood which was dug out, and somehow it would hang, and then they would scoop the rice and level it out. And the base is bronze and it's chased, which is a really, you know, must have been a very special bucket to have this detail. So this is a Balinese hat that we just used to, because some of the light switches and light positioning is maybe not where you would put it, but so we did that just to make a decorative touch. So they're original tiles that lots of places had them. Really traditional, but we love them. So this house, every room is on a different level. Every level is a different room, you know. So basically nothing really is on the same level other than the living room and the fireplace area. Everything else is staggered. So now I'll show you upstairs to the next level. So this is the Moorish room that we call, with the twin room. This is Mallorcan silk linen mix that a guy in Palma, his father, he had a business and he made it, and then the son took over and made fabric. This canopy came from a house in Deià, another house of a friend, and she thought it was for putting out the windows when there was fiestas. And I thought, no, it really is a bed canopy. And then we put it up and it just looks so fun. It's kind of floating, but I love the edges, and it sort of puts me in mind of Venice or something, you know, it's like a gondola or something. And then we have, this is probably why the reason the room, we call it the Moorish room, is because of this lady dressed up in the Moorish clothes. We have this old fabric that I really love that I made into these lampshades. They're another thing that's perfect but not perfect. So we have these twin beds. We made twin headboards out of the local fabric. A little bit of gingham again, which I really love, but just makes me feel it's so provincial and homely. And then these cushions that were made from typical traditional Mallorcan skirts, and this was the base of the skirt, and we made them into cushions because I just love the fabric, but the skirt wasn't practical anymore. I made the lamps to sort of go with the style, and it's a little bit Regency style, and the lampshades I also made. We did this with the wardrobe to for me, anything old wood now sort of can be a bit of a sucker of light. So we did this just to be a bit of fun, to hide it. This is one of my favorite things. This is a decoupage trunk, which is in the George II style. It's English, but just so faded and imperfect. I absolutely love this style of furniture. These chairs are from England, and they've been this one's been repainted, and the other one hasn't been repainted. But I just love the red, the splash of red. And this one's much more aged and more original. These floors again are original, and they have a board. You know, they're really something really special. It's been thought about. This room is crazy as well because it has a big bow in the room. So where the bed is, you can't notice it now, but with age, it's moved, and there is a shape to the floor. This is Gilbert. He's going to come upstairs to the studio. Come on then, Gilbert. Come on. Gilbert. So this is where I work. This is where you'll find me. I'm here. I have like so many fabrics. It's unbelievable. Sometimes I have to tidy them away and start again, but then it piles up. Again, we have the Mallorcan tiles, which I really love these ones. They're really sweet. This is my desk. This is a box. This is the most important thing that I probably own, which is a jewellery box, and it's bulwark, probably by a really famous guy that the work is named after, and he's called Andreas Charles Bull, and he was prolific in France. And this is all ormolu mounted, really special, and the size, you know, it's such a big box. And then we have the Declomania lamp, which I still have to wire. I have to get Gary to wire it up, but soon I will do that. And this is a bed, a Mallorcan bed, which is amazing still to see it with all the original paintwork still really intact, which is lovely, and I really love it. These are some artworks. There's a pair, and this one, they're by my friend Magnus Reid, who's an Australian artist. Mirrors are something that I absolutely love. I might have too many, so I don't really know where I put them. I just have them, and eventually they have been put, you know, they've been in the living room, they've been in other bedrooms, and now they're here. So, and then eventually I'll find somewhere else to put them. But this is a really special one that came from a major, and he was called Major Tiger, and he had this. And it came from the sale of the contents of his house, and I really love it. I have millions of different bits of fabric that I've collected over the years. This is just some, this is hardly any of it. And we have bits of this Laura Ashley edging that I had a whole roll of it, but I've used it on projects, and I really love the Greek key. Some silks that are made on the island, some benison fabrics left over from projects, some amazing Mallorcan fabrics that they used to make in Soyer in the 19th century. So we have this oriental screen, which is Chinese export, probably for the English market, although it has an African theme. But the lions are, every stitch is silk, and he is the man, and here's the female, and the two panels, sadly the other two panels were so badly distressed that this was the only surviving pieces. But I love the character and everything about it. It's also been hung in many different rooms, and he's, because I'm a Leo, we're both, me and Gary, my husband, we're both Leos, so we're the lions. So that's why we've never sold it. I love it so much. And this is more silk that comes from the island, which is from Bahosa, and it's really thick, lovely silk. And then the stripe, which is Swedish stripe, and the yellow and blue I just love. It's a bit of fun. And this lantern has come from Morocco, as I mentioned before. This is basically where me and Gary sleep when we're here. And it's mostly for chilling out, or if we've gone out and friends come and stay here, they'll stay here. And we have this, which is a big canopy, which is totally made from indigo linen. Lots of people think, oh, I'd love to use that fabric and cut it up, but I could never do that. It's very reminiscent of Japanese, although it's Mallorcan. So, welcome. This is the little area where the kids have decided to paint on the walls, and it's a real family sharing zone where we have this ottoman with the antique linen and the bahosa from Mallorca. We painted decoration again because it's such a small space. It really invited something else to decorate it. We couldn't use too much furniture or fabric. And then we did these little curtains, which I love, keep the insects out in the summer, and they're just really fun. And then if you come out here, we have the roof terrace, which is one of my favorite parts of the house. This is where we chill out most of the time. We have the view of the church and the mountains, and my good friend lives up there in the mountains, so that makes me happy every day I come out here. I imagine him probably seeing me down here. This textile's from Iran, it's block print, and I just love everything about these block prints. This is not that old. Sometimes we have old ones. And this little table with the elephants, sadly he's lost some of his tusks. There's 3 elephants on it, but I love that. And then the old olive pot, which is probably around about 300 years old. It doesn't stand up, it's lying down, but I like that it lies down, it's fun. And then we got these chairs, which are so practical because you can move them anywhere, you know. It's just really nice spot to have a sit down and a glass of wine. So we have 2 of these benches, they're hall benches, and I really love the style of the sort of, it's quite churchy, but it's kind of Tudor England style. I really like them. But they're just practical for people to sit here because we don't have a lot of space for 2 sun loungers. So we come up here and some people will sit and some people lie, or lucky person gets to lie down. So at night time, here's the church in Deià, and that will be lit up in the evening. It's really lovely. We hear the bells and all the hustle. If anybody's up there near the church, you can hear them. It's really like an eardrum in Deià. You hear voices and laughter. It's really a lovely place to sit. And then we come over here where we have our own window to the sea. And I like to imagine that the family of the fishermen would wait here for the boats to come home. In Mallorca, they used to have these things on beds, and we would have full-sized ones of these, and they're basically mosquito nets. And this is not the original length. It would have went down probably 2 meters, and it would be a mosquito net. And I found about 10 of them in my time living here, but I sadly can't find any more. And being an antique dealer, I always sold them, and this is one of the only. I have a couple of other ones that are slightly different, but this is the only one I have left that's like this. So we come up here with our coffees and our lunch. The children will come up and paint pictures, and we'll sit around. Sometimes we'll play some music and enjoy the outside atmosphere. Deià's got a real American English influence from back in the 60s and the 70s. A real artist sort of town with lots of hippies. Everybody swears by going to the sea every day and swimming in the water and then coming back up, and the buzz of the village is, I mean, I think it's changed a lot, but it's an absolutely lovely place to come and visit. Lots of old stories, and people know all the stories of all the people that lived here before. Lots of old musicians and artists and bohemians, really. I'm going to show you our kitchen from outside. This is how we come in. This is where our washing machine and everything is in here, which is super handy not to have it in the kitchen. And then we go in here, and it's so small and underground. It's so atmospheric in here. It's not your average kitchen. And we have these kind of ornaments and these paintings by Magnus Reed again. I absolutely love them. This old clock that somebody had thrown away. This is our friend, and I've moved it up here because everybody used to walk into the fist. And so I put it up high. It's definitely not a kitchen thing, but I love it. It's probably came from a church and it's an angel, but for me it's much more sculptural and really well carved, so I really like it. So these are chairs that I brought from the UK. They're old friends, as we say, but I really love them. Each piece has been carved to be that shape, to simulate bamboo, and they're 18th century. Really nice. There's a set of 4. One is upstairs at the moment, but there's 4. And this one is a Scottish one, which goes very well. There's 2 of those. And this chair is Mallorcan and very wonky, but I love it. Absolutely love chairs. I love this chair. So artistic, sort of, I don't know, there's something nice about it, but very wonky, so I wouldn't sit on it if I was you. We've done Halloween parties and birthday parties for our friends, and everybody gathers outside on the street, which is really quirky. It's a Deià thing, and everybody sits on the street, which is, they never want to sit inside. Nobody ever wants to sit inside, which is a really Deià style thing. I think a house becomes a home when you start to introduce your things that you love. For me, my antique furniture that we've brought from everywhere really makes it a home. Things that we're attached to that we've brought from Scotland. We've got things that we've brought from England, things from Morocco, from our holidays when we were younger, and we used to go to Morocco and come back with boxes full of stuff. It's just a love for your things, and that makes it home.
Hello, Homeworthy. Welcome. My name is Frank. Welcome to Tangier. I'm going to show you around today. I'm excited to give you a tour of my home. Please come in.
Watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello everyone from Homeworthy. My name is Frank Tibiasi. Welcome to my home in beautiful Tangier, Morocco. I'm in the Kasbah of Morocco in Tangier, which is on the north part of Africa on the Straits of Gibraltar. And I've lived here for 6 years full time now. I'm an interior decorator based in America. I work all over, and I'm excited to present my home to you. Thank you for coming. In 1984 was my first trip to Tangier. I was going to school in Paris, studying French and art history, and I had the opportunity to come to south of Spain on my Eurail pass with some friends. We crossed on the ferry from Tarifa to Tangier, and we discovered this beautiful country of Morocco in the north of Africa, the Straits of Gibraltar, which has an incredible climate, a wonderful culture, beautiful people, fascinating history, and we basically fell in love with this place. I didn't come back again until 2001, where I came with some friends and my old assistant from my previous job at Peter Marino Architect, and we fell in love with all of the beautiful homes here. There's a rich history of different homes being created over the years. This particular home we found after looking for at least, we probably saw 30 or 40 different houses. We found this one because it was owned by an Englishman, and he had a mosaic studio in the ground floor. It was just a kind of shell. So it was an atelier where the artist worked. And it was really interesting to see, to be inspired with the local culture, what it was that we could turn this house into. I'll give you a tour, but basically it's ground floor with 2 extra floors. And my partner and I, Jean, just decided this was the house we wanted. Great, so welcome to our living room. This is an amazing space we created on a former roof terrace, which had a small kitchen. And we couldn't go too much higher. The ceiling was always going to be a slightly low. What I did was, and I've done this for a lot of projects, is I had beams put in. And these are actually plaster beams. These aren't wood beams, just to create a kind of interest so it doesn't make it feel like the ceiling's too low. Another trick that I did in this room, which we use all the time actually, this is where we have breakfast because the light is so good. I put a picture rail around the room in this kind of light yellow-green, and then above that we painted a blue-green mint, and we put our collection of plates that I think Jean bought them mostly in America at Etsy. It's a huge collection of Mallorca, and I think it creates a kind of garden room, which is what I really wanted. We have a garden on the front of the house. We have a garden terrace off the back. So it's really about a sense of plants and flowers and garden, and this is exactly what I wanted. Ditto for the fabric, I think, don't ask me who it's from, but it's an old chintz. We made the furniture here. Yeah, no, it's a wonderful room. This is an old tile collection that I had that I bought locally and made into a table, and they're probably Spanish or Moroccan 19th century, but it makes it's nice. The carpet's a Mauritanian mat, which is popular here. Again, mixed with raffia and camel leather. At the top here, which again I think is so important to have air and light, I put in this Musharabi atrium, which again brings light and air all the way from the bottom up to the top where we have a big skylight. The fireplace, I have an old Indian Mughal gate marble sculpture in there. This is our games table. We don't really play games, but maybe one day we'll learn to play bridge like everyone does. The bougainvillea is from the local next door, as you can see. Come on and I'll show you the bar and the kitchen too. This is our entertainment center, as you can see. Lots of fun. And this is the kitchen that I created first, which I really, really love. It's a mix of beautiful pink Portuguese marble, an interesting kind of, I don't know, pale pistachio green on the walls. And this is where we have breakfast in the morning because it's so much light and it's really wonderful. Off of this we have the kitchen garden. These are curtains that I made from a shawl I bought in India. Again, everything is used, waste not, want not. This is a piece of furniture we made here. Basically, we can make anything, but I really wanted to, and ditto and the curtains. These we made in Tangier as well, all hand woven with little tassels. So this is the entry of my home, and it gives me a good chance to explain a little bit of the history of what we bought and what we've created here. So this was the house, as I said, we purchased in 2007. It was basically a kind of an artist studio. There's only a few elements that are still extant, that are still here from when we bought it. One is this interesting arch here you can see, and the other 2 arches as well. The rest of it is all new, but we've kept it to the old traditional style. So you can see we've added the cement tiles. Come on down, I'll show you. The lantern we make here in our shop, Habibi Burton, which we've sold lots of, they're kind of a mix of Musharabi. It gives a nice glow. Then this is interesting. These are portraits that my partner Jean Meyer did. They're all watercolors and gouaches, and these are people that have bought houses in Tangier. So if you buy a house in Tangier, he'll do your portrait, I think. Come on down, I'll show you the rest of it. So again, imagine the first project was just this house. This is a window wall that didn't exist. It was closed up, but then when I was able to buy the 2 houses next door, we were able to open it up and create light, which is exactly what I wanted, because this was a pretty dark area, and by creating the window, we were able to add lots and lots of light. This is one of my favorite details. Actually, Jean came up with this. You can see come down they're coming down the stairs and up the stairs here, where the connection to the other house. This was a kind of what do you call it, door casing, which we created, and Jean chose some amazing colors for that. With, again, everything you see we put in, nothing here existed. This is the arch that, again, was left over from the original house. And you can see a kind of typical serrated edge. We painted it in kind of aqua blue. We have a huge collection of these botanicals, which I bought from an Englishman who was took the flowers and pressed them. So I bought maybe 150 of them. I put them all over the house. The desk we found locally, it's probably what they call Spanish deco. It's a beautiful piece of walnut, or maybe palisander. And we were lucky to find that. Next, we're going to go into what I call the reception room. So this is a big kind of, almost like a courtyard. And we were fortunate. We changed the front door. It used to be here, changed it to over there. And we created a library with a fireplace and books. And it's a kind of cozy place to hang out. This is kind of the main hall of the whole house. So it goes off to the entrance, to the garage, to the library. But one interesting element which we put in, you should have to see, we added a 3-story skylight which completely goes up, and I covered the walls in Musharabi, so all of the windows open to that. It creates light, it gives airflow. It was actually a good idea somebody had, which in these kind of houses in the summer, as you can imagine, it gets very, very hot. And the way the air circulates is a very important function and feature of a well-designed house. So, and in the winter, strangely, it gets quite cold. So we have underfloor heating, which makes it very, very warm. It's very humid because we're right on we're on the Atlantic where it meets the Mediterranean. So lots of wind and lots of salty breezes. So that's what we have to keep in mind. So I wanted to point out one thing interesting here. This whole wall of botanicals, again, is by Stuart Thornton. He lives in Sardinia, and he's taken all these specimen plants and dried them. We bought them maybe 10 years ago. I bought 150 of them, and it's the perfect decoration for an entire wall. The cabinet came from Gene's family in Louisville, Kentucky, where he's from. The shells we've collected over the years. Lots of them came from our place in Florida, where we used to live in Miami. The other furniture we have, some of it came from Miami. What's interesting, I love this old chintz, which I bought as curtains in the Paris flea market. And I was able to get some pillows and some armchairs here, which we slip covered. And that's what I think really makes the house special, to take old things that have no use anymore as curtains and make them into something else. And these have kind of followed us throughout our various residences, but they made a nice home here. Great, so now I'd like to show the library that we were able to create from this former entry vestibule. Remember I said the front door used to be here with a staircase. We decided we needed something cozy off the reception room, so we created a library with bookcases on both sides, nice fireplace here in the middle. We've covered the walls with more of Stuart Thornton's interesting botanicals. The lantern we make here in Tangier of our design with the Musharabi. This is quite interesting. This is from a little village south of Tangier called Rahuna, and Umberto Pasti and his team have created a series of ateliers where they weave these roots and twigs into interesting furniture, in this case a mirror. The pot here is probably Moroccan, around 18th century, which we found locally. The other two pieces here are interesting. This probably Mauritanian or southern Moroccan with a kind of sgraffiato carved into the fired terracotta. Oh, the curtains are amazing. So this we actually hand weave in Tangier at the Fonduc, where they do all the woven goods. We chose the pattern, we chose the design and the colors. And it's amazing, we can almost do whatever we want. The chairs we had made here in wicker, and they're quite comfortable. The inspiration in Tangier for me is the old architecture, the buildings, the local culture. There's a rich history of people settling here and creating beautiful lives and beautiful products and craft. It's a wonderful climate, lots and lots of friends. And what's interesting now is Tangier is becoming much more well known to the rest of the world, and we have lots of people visiting and enjoying the culture and everything that the city has to offer. So next I wanted to show you the old primary bedroom. In the old house, which is an interesting space. It was a pretty big room, which I wanted. I wanted these nice kind of generous rooms where we have a bed, a little sitting room here. I made a corner banquette out of some fabric that I had left over. These fabrics here, and then this fabric was one that I had made here in Tangier. The stripes are painted by the guy that works for us, Isham, who's brilliant at lots of things, especially painting stripes, because we have a lot of striped rooms. Jean chose a kind of interesting chalcedony and beige with a kind of peach ceiling. And it's a mix of different things that we found. The fabrics, again, we fabricated here, we have hand woven. The bed I bought at the Paris flea market. Again, the quilt is Jean's grandmother. What's the interesting thing with this room, it used to be very dark, and what we did was we created a balcony looking onto the new property that we bought. We have a garden, we have birds, a fountain. It's so pretty. It's really a wonderful garden room, which was exactly my idea from the beginning, and I'm very happy to have done that. Over here, I want to show you these interesting pieces that I found locally. A Portuguese rosewood cabinet on stand with a Portuguese probably hardwood, rosewood desk, which is quite nice. And I thought that was fun. The other part of this room, which I like, it opens onto the atrium that I showed you here with the musharabi. So it gives light and air, and it's really quite beautiful. But come into one of one of the best rooms I think I've done, which is the bathroom. We had an interesting space here, and I thought, why not do an oval room? Years ago, I did an oval entry into a house in Palm Beach, and it was very successful. The ceiling is domed, which we created with plaster, going to the central, again, lantern we made here. Everything you see that we either found here or created. This was a beautiful marble I found to make the sink. Bathtub I bought at the flea market in Paris. The tiles are local. I don't know, it was a really fun room to do. And what's great is we have different openings. There's the toilet there, the dressing room, a closet, and it really makes for a wonderful, wonderful space. The tiles are 18th century from Sicily, which we found at a reclaimed place. And I think putting it all together was a lot of fun. The door design here, which I think was kind of interesting, was from an old house in New Orleans where we were able to recreate this kind of chevron design in an arch. And then we made these poked out air flows here, which create a sense of air. Again, in the Casbah, it's very useful because it's so humid, and it creates airflow for less humidity. So here we are on the top floor of the house. It's the roof terrace. It's a place where we spend a lot of time, both in the morning for breakfast, at night for a drink. It's a wonderful place to get away. You hear the seagulls, you can hear the ships coming in from the harbor, which is just right there. It was a kind of a bonus place, which we didn't really realize that we had. I enlisted my friend Alexander Hoyle to come and choose the plants and pots. So that was maybe 5 years ago. And things have done really, really well. Again, Tangier is the ultimate place for gardens. We've got just zillions of different kinds of species here. Just beautiful, beautiful things. So what I did was we kind of created a lounge area here. We have some seating here. Sometimes it's set up as a bar. Over here we have a kind of a seating area. We can host, 10 or 12, even groups of 20 sometimes we've had here. And it's just a wonderful place. The furniture we had made here in the metal shop and also in the woodwork and the rattan. So it's just a mix of things that we've created and things we've had. It's kind of interesting. But if you see here, there's beautiful views of the bay and the city of Tangier. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to hang out. And this is interesting. You can see the top of the skylight. With thick glass, goes down 3 stories, and this is what gives light to the rest of the house below, which is quite amazing. Over here we created a dome on the staircase, and that gives a great light too over there as well. So I'm glad you could enjoy this. So one story I wanted to share with you was that we had this house during COVID in 2021, 22. It was quite interesting because, as you know, so many things were shut down, but thankfully we were able to use this space a lot. We had some little lunches, some people that lived in the area that could get here, and I actually can show you a picture of that. But it was so nice to be here when everything was shut down and it was quiet and peaceful, and we had a wonderful lunch here. And you can see the skyline of the city. It was spectacular. It's definitely a memory I'll always have, and that's what Tangier is so special. We have a wonderful life here, and the people are so friendly and welcoming. So when we first bought this house in 2007, there wasn't much left. Everything you see, everything I'll be showing you, was created by us. Things that we've found, we've collected over the years. There's an excellent group of antique dealers here where we buy things. There's a kind of reclaimed market where we can find things like tiles and ceilings, and I wanted to incorporate all these different elements into our building, which again, it was a kind of a shell, and so everything you'll see here, nothing existed. It was all created by our craftsmen, and that's the beauty of living here in a wonderful place with such a history of talent and creation and artistry. Basically, the house needed a lot of work. It took forever to get everything cleaned up and organized and built. The craftsmen here are incredible, especially I want to point out the plaster workers. They're amazing. You can do whatever you want in plaster. The woodworkers, the painters. It's incredible that we were able to put everything together. And right now it's a wonderful house that we have here. We're very excited. So now I'm going to take you into the other part of the house. This is the connection between the three houses. What we did here was a little gate for Oscar, based on a Tunisian design. We did the beautiful color green, which you'll see everywhere in our house, with lots of white nail heads, typical Mediterranean Tunisian design. A carpet I found in Azila, which we had made and cut in half for the hallway. The tiles are all designed by Jean. I'll take you into the kitchen now. On this side of the house, we have a kitchen, courtyard, and dining room. In the kitchen today, we have our wonderful Khadija, who's local Tanjawi, who's cooking an amazing lunch for us. This is Khadija, welcome. So what we have here is some interesting Moroccan salads. We have beets, we have tomatoes, and we're making a chicken tagine, which she'll show you, which is quite beautiful. So we have artichokes and green beans and a carrot salad. Let's see what's in here. Another looks like aubergine. So that's eggplant salad. This is quite interesting. These are the lemons you get in Morocco, which are confit, which are delicious. Sometimes she makes her own, which are amazing. Local lemons, and then we make the confit here, and that gives an amazing taste. What's interesting about the kitchen? This is our second kitchen in this house, which is kind of a long galley kitchen. I bought these old shutters here from Boutique Majid, a local place in Tangier, where I was able to redo the insides as well as add the part in cedar. So cedar is a typical wood you find here in the north of Morocco. But you can see the beautiful carving here of the shutters. And because we were building the house from scratch, we were able to add on these interesting elements in the kitchen. Here we have this is the mouche arabi, which everyone loves. We painted it green, and this is something called Maimouna, which I put on the faces of the cabinets. It is nice because it creates a lot of airflow through here. The carpet here is a unusual Mauritanian runner, which is made in North Africa, and it's made of raffia and camel leather, which is kind of interesting. And here's another part of our kitchen which I love. It's my favorite part, actually. I wanted to create a Dutch door for the dog, so we close it here when Khadija is cooking. Dog can't come in, but it's a Dutch door, so the top part closes like this. It's all made of carved mahogany, carved beech wood, and it's kind of a unique design. I love this. Transitioning through here, the kitchen here, coming into our wonderful kind of stair hall. What I did here was I bought a piece of old panel here, and then I had my artist Eunice create everything that was missing. It's not a square here, but it's a kind of unique situation. This is another Mauritanian mat that we bought locally. Everything we pretty much bought or made locally. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about my career path, which might be interesting to some of you who think that you have to study design to become an interior decorator or designer. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, so I'm Southern, and Southern American, and I wanted to explain how I got here. I went to University of Georgia for 2 years, studied liberal arts, then went to school in Paris at the Sorbonne, University of Paris, where I developed my love of history and art history and culture and France in particular. After that, I went to George Washington University, where I studied international affairs and economics and history. After that, I worked at a bank in Spain. I was in finance, actually, which was very interesting. Spain was undergoing a tremendous amount of prosperity in those years, 86, I think. It was fascinating. I loved the Catalan culture and the Spanish culture. And then I came back to New York in 1992, and I got a job at Christie's. So I worked at Christie's in the Estates and Appraisals department, which I was really able to develop my eye for different types of furniture and paintings and textiles. And it was just one of the most interesting and inspired things that I could have done at that age, to learn and see so many objects go through the auction process. So I was there until '92. I then worked for Peter Marino, the architect designer in New York City, where I worked on lots of projects all over the world, which were fabulous, unbelievable house tour I got everywhere, and was able to meet wonderful artisans and clients and work with the real master, Peter Marino. That was very, very exciting. I was head of the interiors there for residential until 2004. In 2004, I created my own company on my own, where I worked with lots and lots of different wonderful team members and designers and creators. And then in 2018, my partner Jean Meyer and I moved to Tangier, Morocco, where we decided to start a business here of creating craft, selling to my clients all over the world at different residences in Boston and New York and London and the south of France. And so it's all been an exciting journey. Hi, so welcome to the primary bedroom. This is the bedroom in our other house here that we bought in 2019, which is kind of interesting. First off, I've made these amazing doors from an old ceiling, all carved and gilded and painted, and it made a wonderful door that we incorporated into this new house. What's interesting about this room is you come over here and you can see the courtyard that we created. So my idea for the house was to have as much light as possible. It's quite bright, actually. It faces the sea, and we planted the courtyard, and it's nice to have the plants with birds and things. And the other thing that we made here were these wonderful curtains, which we have hand woven in Tangier. And then we have a guy in Fez who does this incredible embroidery work in a wool thread. So that we've been very successful. We're selling a lot of it at our new shop here in Tangier, which is great. Come on into the primary bedroom and I'll show you the rest of it. The interesting thing about this room is it has very low ceilings, which we weren't able to go any higher. What I did was I wanted to make an interesting ceiling. I hate boring ceilings. So we put in cedar planks, and it kind of gives a rustic feeling. Jean came up with an interesting stencil design all around the perimeter of the beams, which I think adds to the artistic kind of feeling of the room. Lots and lots of collections here which we've assembled over the years, and especially from here in Tangier. What's funny is I'm obsessed with recycling and saving old things. So for example, the fabric here on the sofa is an old, I think, Lee Joffa fabric we had in the Paris apartment as a tablecloth. I made it into a sofa. This fabric here I made in India with some friends, and this was the walls in our Paris apartment. I made into a chair. I don't like to waste things. I'm always recycling and reusing. I think each thing, as I said, tells a story. Little collection here of little buildings we bought in Azila. I love the different geometric stripes and colors, which was fun. Obviously, it's our TV room. We kind of live in here. This is where we watch Netflix and everything. We have dinner here. This is an interesting piece. We found an old brown piece of furniture, not very pretty. I had my artist Eunice paint it. Lots of different colors. Jean designed it. And what's funny is I had someone make a little embroidery for the curtains here. But it's interesting how you can take, with some inspiration, take whatever you have and make it into something else, which I love. We're always inspired by the stripes and the colors of the North African pottery. These are cool. These are old Tangier photographs, probably turn of the century, where you can see the old Tangier port. We were very lucky to find those. We're very happy. The bed I made here, based on using some old embroidered fabric that I found. I wanted an interesting backdrop on the wall, so I found an old ceiling here in Tangier, which is carved and gilded and painted. So I plunked that on the top of the wall, and we've added some of our product here, which is little brackets with. These are quite interesting too. From the American legation, a woman paints these very interesting, naive landscapes and seascapes and what have you, and it's fascinating. Kind of a Grandma Moses feeling, very rustic, but she's quite beautiful with color. The bedside tables we made ourselves. The lamps and lampshades ditto. Again, it's a mix of old and new, things we found, things we bought. This is Jean's grandmother's quilt that she probably made in the, I guess, teens or 20s. And then over here you can see, I'll show you the interesting table we made. This is a desk we had made, which was we had an interesting curved wall here, which we created with a round window. And we had an artist, a woodworker, make the desk, and an artist paint and stencil the surface, which I think turned out pretty great. The tiles are everything from Jean designed. Now this is coming into the master bathroom, his bathroom, Jean's bathroom. And we have curtains that we made, hand woven here in Tangier. The tiles were made here as well. So that's it for this room. What I love here is the arch ceiling. That's again what I was saying. You can be inspired to do anything here. The fact we can do an interesting curve of the arch was amazing. And again, we've got a great view onto the courtyard, so we have lots of light. And next I want to show you my dressing room, which I created out of a little space above the kitchen. So I hope you're keeping up, because the house is very labyrinthine and lots of little nooks and crannies and hallways, which kind of makes it interesting. Come on, I'll show you. So this is down the stairs. Again, more shutters that I bought, reclaimed, because we like to reuse, and we were able to fit them into the house. Painting by a local artist friend of mine, Elena Prentice. Very, very talented American here living in Tangier as well. So this is my dressing room. I've always wanted to have a wood-lined room, and I was able to do it here with cedar. So I know you can't smell this, but the cedar scent is so beautiful, and it's nice and warm. Again, it overlooks the courtyard, which I'm very lucky to have. Planted courtyard. I have a little privacy. My shower is here. Clothes are here. What was interesting here, I made a medicine cabinet, which I've never done. We couldn't find a medicine cabinet in Morocco. I don't think they exist. So what I did was I made a frame, a beautiful frame here with a brass craftsman, and then I put in my medicine cabinet on top of the mirror, which I thought was a good idea. The sink is reclaimed from somewhere here, as is the faucets, and it's just a mix, especially the tiles were all made here. These here are called beige mat. These are unglazed tiles. And the glazed tiles, which is the green here and then the yellow here. And here we have Zalige in yellow and white in my shower. I love the different colors that I put together with a little bit of mauve there on the front. The fabric I bought in Paris is from Le Manac, a wonderful print that I thought married all these different colors together. This was a dressing chest of drawers I made, built in with the Maimouni here, the trellis, which I thought turned out pretty well. The lamp is actually Lin Vautrin, which is kind of interesting, with the shade that I made. So it's a mix of things that I found, that I bought, that I made, and that's the fun of living here in Tangier. Great, so I hope you're keeping up and you're following me. Next, we're going to go from my dressing room to our roof terrace, which is kind of interesting because you'll see how the three houses are connected. First up is the passageway here, which goes from this house back to the old one, which again we had planted. We have lots of flowers and trees and things. And it overlooks the garage of Barbara Hutton, who was our next door neighbor. Welcome to the roof terrace. So it's kind of bright today. It was a beautiful, beautiful day in Tangier. Sunny skies. What I love about this are the colors, which I had nothing to do with. Our neighbor has a beautiful bougainvillea engulfing a fig underneath. You can see the wonderful magenta colors, fuchsia actually. And then we made some furniture here locally and we painted it a bright blue. But you can see the colors are quite magnificent. The greens and blues with the fuchsia. This is a whole color story, which I think is kind of emblematic of Tangier in the north of Morocco. Lots of great colors. It's wonderful. As a designer, I would say my go-to design tip is listen to the client, listen to what they're asking for, and present some wonderful ideas and kind of push their boundaries and make sure they know what's possible, what's available, especially when it comes to local craftsmen. We've been so successful in working with the people here and the rest of the world who come up with incredible textiles and fabrics and furniture and all sorts of objects. That's really my go-to, is to personalize each room with something that has a story, that is something of interest, where you really want to see something that creates the whole room, the whole scheme. I think that's very important. So in our house in Tangier, what's great about this town is we have lots of friends who love to go out and we love to entertain at home. It's very exciting to go to people's houses and see what they've created. Everybody has a different theme, a different scheme. It comes from different places, and it's really fun. So I kept that in mind when I was creating this house. So we have lots of different places you'll see to eat and to have a drink and to walk around. And we have lots and lots of parties. It's a pretty active social life here in Tangier. So welcome into my dining room, which we created out of a very strange space. You can see this unusual shape of the room. This was a house I bought in 2019 and it completely collapsed. So there was nothing here, just rubble. It collapsed and we gave us free rein to do whatever we want. So basically we created a kind of Moroccan interesting Kasbah situation. We reclaimed old tiles from old buildings. We made this wall covering in woven rattan. The interesting part about this, we were able to recuperate some old shutters from buildings and built them into the wall. This is the wall of the Kasbah here, which slopes down. So behind that is a solid rock. Table we brought from New York. It's an old table that I bought, Scottish, I think, from Christie's, London. Things that we made, the needlepoint was made by my mother and finished by Layla, who works with us, and her cousins, which they did a great job. Jean designed these, which is quite cute. Love the old needlepoint. Table settings, I bought this, the Paris flea market. Ditto for the cutlery. These are some products that we sell in here from Habibi Burton. It's nickel and brass. So I like to, when I set a table, I like to make a mix of things. This is actually quite simple for us now. Normally we go a little more over the top. But we try and use a mix of local things, antique things, things we've created. The chandelier we think is from Syria. I bought it at a local antique shop. Has beautiful, beautiful floral paintings on it. Then in here we made a china cupboard with a collection of things that we've made over the years. Over here we have a wonderful Theodore Deck lamp, a shade made from a sari that I bought in India in 2017. I love making things into other things. The frame mirror we found here in the house that was being torn down, sadly, so we bought that. One of the things I love to do is to put a painting on a mirror or a mirror on a mirror. It creates a sense of depth. And so at nighttime when you're seated at the table, there's lots of different lights. We have candlelight, everything's very low and soft. This way goes to a little room that we call the aviary. We used to have birds, don't exist anymore. And what's fascinating is we reclaimed all of the marble tile from a building here. Ditto for the old turn of the century tiles here. This is an old door we bought at a market here, and then created the door frame around it. This leads to a powder room here. And what's another thing interesting, so this is an old ceiling. We probably had 3/4 of it that we bought from a dealer, and then we had an artist recreate the rest of it, so it looks like it's all new. But that's been the most inspiring part of living here in North Africa, in Tangier, where we're able to really create whatever we want and put together the pieces. So there's a dialogue between antique and contemporary. This is something we make for Habibi Burton in brass and wicker. Next, I'm going to show you our courtyard, which we created around the perimeter of this interesting space. Again, remember in 2019 it all collapsed. It was just rubble. But we wanted to have a sense of light and air and a kind of garden. So what we created was we were open to the sky here. Everything's 2 stories. This is all our house. And what we use this for mostly is dining at night. It's beautiful during the day, but at night it really glows. We've got everything lit. And then if it's overflow from the dining room, we can seat actually 8 people here. It's a little tight, maybe 6 is better. All the furniture we made here in Tangier, we painted, which shows the colors. This is an interesting, some beautiful, beautiful sweets, some of which Hadija has made in our kitchen. We are serving a tea and some local flowers. The plants we have here are a mix of tropical and subtropical plants. Again, as I said, we are in zone 10, so we don't have frost. We're very fortunate to have this long growing season. We have lots and lots of interesting plants we can have. And my next project, coming soon, will hopefully be another house we're going to do with a big garden. I'm very excited about that. The other thing that I love here, I was able to put windows here to the kitchen. This is the kitchen that you saw before. This is the old windows that we recuperated from another house. And it really creates a sense of light and air and greenery on all rooms of that enter off the courtyard. So I think you can see it's a really pretty space. Thanks. What I love most about my home, that I would have to say, is the fact that we're in the middle of the city, the middle of the Kasbah in the Medina in Tangier. And it's completely private and quiet. We have birds in our gardens. We have light from every room, lots of windows, which you'll see on the tour. And just to know that everything we've brought here or created here has a kind of story. It's fascinating to know the behind story with each individual object. And I try and impart that to my clients as well in the projects that I've done around in France and in America and England, and it's quite interesting. It's fascinating. Hello, Homeworthy, and welcome again. I have a little surprise for you. Now you're going to see my shop where we design all this beautiful product here in Morocco. Welcome. Come in. Enjoy. So what I would first want to explain, this is a shop we opened up last August. It is all contemporary Moroccan design and craft created solely by us, designed by us and created by craftsmen here in Morocco. We have a mixture of beautiful jewelry by Marissa Berenson right here. You can see she lives in Marrakesh, creates these amazing pieces. We have ceramics from Casablanca. We have beautiful wooden objects that are painted, made here in Tangier by a wonderful artist that we have. Incredible work here, embroidery from a guy in Fez, which does amazing work that Jean and I have designed. Been our big seller. Some tabletop things which you see here. Wonderful napkins. This is quite interesting. It's all open work that was designed by us and made by some local ladies here who do beautiful, beautiful open work and embroidery. You can see especially here with the napkins and placemats, it's all completely open. It takes forever. Beautiful, beautiful local craftsmanship, which we enjoy working with them here. More jewelry from a new person in Casablanca, Rabat, which is quite interesting. We're very excited about. Some beautiful scarves that we've made here in Tangier, all woven by hand here in Tangier in cotton and then brought here. A little bit more traditional pillows here, which are brodered de Fez in different colors, also made in north of Morocco and around Tangier. Over here we have some beautiful, this is Zach who works with us. Say hello. This is some beautiful metalwork we've made here in Tangier. So we've made an interesting group of like pencil cups and bud vases and bottle holders. So it's kind of interesting, all the things we've done. Back here we have another group of things. We're very proud of all the work we've done here with the local woodworkers. So we've made these beautiful mirrors and frames and brackets, and all painted by the local painter that we have here. In the back we have another room. Jean did the beautiful wall stencil. It's not wallpaper. It actually is stenciled by our painter. Again, more Marissa Berenson jewelry. And then we've created an interesting group of jackets, one of which I'm wearing here. This is the typical Moroccan ribbon design that they hand weave called sfifa. So we put it on top of a jacket here like you see. More wicker like you saw yesterday in the house. These we're especially proud of. These are embroidered pictures that Jean designed in different colors, and our people in Fez and Meknes have embroidered them. Wonderful artisans, wonderful craftsmen, and you can see more interesting things. And basically that's it. Home is a place where I can go to relax and be in my thoughts of creation. It's also a kind of laboratory. My home, especially as a designer, I like to put things together that you'd never expect. We've got seashells and antiquities. We have flowers and portraits and gardens and all these different things in different colors and different mediums. And I think the conversation between all these, it's helped me finesse my work as a designer. Everything kind of has a story, has a conversation with each other, and it's pretty interesting to see that in my home, I think, and in other homes as well that I've done, or my friends' houses here in Tangier, and it's all pretty fun. So I'm glad you were able to come to Habibi Burton in Tangier to visit our shop and see what we've created. Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you soon, and here's a little gift for you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Hello, welcome to Tangier and welcome to Kazatska.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, I'm Nicolò Castellini Baldissera. I am the creative designer of Kazatska, and I welcome you to my home in Tangier. I arrived in Tangier the first time in 1986 with my mom by boat from France, and that was my first encounter with this white city, which was a third of its size at the time. Then never again until 2009, when I came back with some French clients. But I stayed longer and fell in love with it and bought my first place here in the heart of the Medina, and which became the beginning of this love story with this city. We now moved to a different area of the city, and which is called Marchand, where we are at the moment. And we've been here since about 10 years. Tangier sits at the western corner of Africa and opposite Europe, and looking onto the Strait of Gibraltar, which virtually separates the Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea. So its position is extraordinary, and it's what makes Tangier an incredibly special place because of this crossing of two continents and two seas. And that for me was some sort of irresistible charm that I could not succumb to. And still to this day, looking out our terrace and looking, it feels like I can reach out to Europe, but I'm in Africa. And I look left and it's the Atlantic, I look right, it's the Mediterranean Sea, and it's just incredible. It's a very, very special place. And now my partner Christopher will join us for the house tour.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Christopher Garris, a design and travel writer.
and co-owner of Kazatska. And welcome to our home. I'm thrilled to join you for this tour. So here we are in the porch. This is the one of the two additions we made architecturally to the former house, as we found. This loggia was not here. We decided to add it in order to create a space that would allow us to sit outside, but being sort of sheltered from the rain. And it also broke up the facade above. Yes, it's sort of quite top heavy, we thought. Yeah. And the backyard being so small, we didn't think that this would actually really matter too much about taking away space from this sort of small garden. And the stripes were sort of, we're both passionate about stripes, so we really kind of are tempted often to use them too much. And it was just an idea to give it a sort of a more sort of tented area feeling. And although we specifically wanted them to look as they do, so not to create a sort of a trompe-l'œil tent effect, because we still wanted to retain this sort of arched loggia aspect, which we kind of like. So over here we have two contributions that actually come from your dad, Niccolo. He designed these lamps, which are stunning, with the leaves, the acanthus leaves on them as well, made in tin. And then this throne, which was a throne that was much shorter, and the sides were then brought to the front to extend it out. And it was a throne for a baby Maharaja in India, from the north. We don't exactly know which, whether Jaipur, Jodhpur, or Udaipur, but somewhere there in Rajasthan. These two tables come from Runa, again Umberto Pasti and his partner Stefan created this line called Now, which used to stand for Nabil and Otman Workshop. It's now called Now on the Ocean. These are the Stéphane Guéridon tables, which we owned for quite a while, my favorites. And they're exclusively made with strawberry tree branches. And you have tables, chairs, furniture, anyway. It's really lovely. And again, here we have some prototypes of our first models. This is the Nico chair that came from an original sort of 1910s rattan chair from my grandparents' home on the Lake Maggiore. And this is the kit armchair, which has an extendable sort of leg stool, and which we produce also as a sofa. The birds are parrots. You'll find more as we go along. I've always been in love. I owned a real one, Coco, a Gabon Grey, for many years, and here in Tangier. Sadly, she died. And I've always been passionate about parrots and their colorings. And these two come from Paris. My favorite birds, really. Here we are in our little backyard where we spend endless evenings and luncheons, and it's very secluded. It's what we called Hortus Conclusus, which is a walled garden. We built this fountain with my dear friend Umberto Pasti, who is also a garden designer, who helped us with the garden, which in fact was quite a task, being so small. And but he did a great job. He did a great job, and he had the idea to have a water feature in building this fountain, and we collected these old tiles over the years for the purpose of building this fountain. So this table we have, it's from the same stone as in the kitchen, the Sidi Kassem stone. Today it's covered with a tablecloth of our friend Lisa Corti. Who makes the most beautiful designs from India, printed in India, and very colorful. We have a bunch of these, thanks to her generosity, and it just adds a touch of color to this otherwise rather green garden, because we're facing north here. So basically, there aren't many flowers. It's mostly plants that need shade. we are on the first floor terrace, which is in fact sitting right on top of the Logia, the striped, white and green striped Logia we were earlier. And this is, again, another sort of outdoor space. We have them at every level, which is, you know, we're starting to slowly gaining our way up. What is most impressive
about
this terrace are these 3 giant pots, again made by our friend Madison Cox in near Marrakesh, MC Pots, Morocco, and they're so large and so oversized that allow you to basically grow everything into them.
So we filled these ones with jasmines and
Plumbago.
plumbagos, which have covered this this pergola.
This pergola that you designed,
Yeah, this was my
Yeah.
contribution.
which is great, although now it's hard to tell, but you know, it was quite an elaborate design, and it's been now covered by this lush vegetation.
My favorite thing about this room up here is that we particularly use it for parties, and throughout the year we remove furniture and then put it back, and it's great. Sometimes we'll set up a little table in the corner and have lunch out here. It's a nice sort of multi-use
yeah.
space off the living room. Welcome to the living room. This room, as Nicola mentioned before, is this beautiful pink color, which was made over a series of layers with pigments and things. I remember it started out as sort of a bubblegum pink and slowly got toned down.
True.
And you can see the sort of texture in it.
There's so much to talk about this room. I mean, you know, I would start from the fireplace, which is in fact an exact replica from a 16th century fireplace made of stone in the northern Piedmont, where we had a family home. And I was so impressed by its shape that I really wanted to try and reproduce it. It's entirely made of plaster by a French artisan who used to work for us at the time. And it was possible thanks to a publication of our home on a architectural magazine called Abitare, dated 1979. So I still have it, and that allowed us to reproduce it close to its original. I mean, it's identical actually, and work out all the proportions. And then, I mean, as you can see, we've had so much fun playing with fabrics.
Fabrics are a big thing in this house. In fact, all of the curtains, which you can see on both sides of the room, are CNC Milano.
It's pure 100% linen, and it comes in different shades. We chose this sort of lilac and white striped one because we liked it, and we thought that it would just break a bit all of this pink fairy tale like room. This stripe was made in Tangier by our weavers, inspired by these old fabrics from Ghana that I purchased from my friend, the fabric designer and old fabric dealer Jennifer Shorto, and that back in the days. And so those were the inspiration to sort of reproduce the same colors in stripes.
Well, we have to show you the book.
Oh, this is my first book for Vendôme Press, Inside Tangier, which is still going strong and basically has all of our dear friends' homes in it, including Frank De Biasi's, Jean Meyer, Gordon Watson, Umberto Pasti, Bruno Frisoni, Marco Scarani and Jamie Krill, and many, many others.
Yeah.
And it's being reprinted. It will be available again as of the end of June, early July. 4th edition, I'm proud to say. This is my favorite piece in this drawing room. It comes from Tony Duquette, famous Hollywood designer, late designer, and it's a faux malachite clock that I purchased at Christie's LA during the sale of his collection. He was related to my ex-wife, and he was a genius. I had the pleasure to meet him, and it was very eclectic.
One of my favorite pieces in the house is this beautiful collage from our friend Max Strong
That's
on a on a trip to Georgia recently, there were all these political posters that someone had bleached over. And from that, he made this stunning collage, which I really love. And now he's busy working in Mumbai.
Here is a bit of a family corner with a picture from a beautiful picture of my late mother and Patricia Leonardi, and of my great-great-grandfather's Giacomo Puccini. My career started as a student in London at Sotheby's Educational, where I studied history of art and mostly concentrating and specializing in decorative arts from the 16th century up to the 20th century. And that was my first encounter with the beauty of decorative arts. Although being Italian, I grew up in a very privileged setting, surrounded by wonderful things back in Milan. And when I moved to London at the age of 19, it was supposed to be for a short period of time. In fact, it turned out to be nearly 33 years of my life spent mostly in London as my main residence. And after these studies, I went on to the Courtyard Institute, and then I sort of dropped out as it was too technical. I needed action, I needed to work. I wasn't done. I'm not a scholar. I have no patience to read and to prepare all these essays. And I just realized my shortcomings and decided to start and work. And by chance, as soon as I made my mind up, I had the first offer to decorate a friend's house in London, which obviously I took with great enthusiasm. And at the same time, I also bought my first home there, so I had also my place to decorate, and that was the beginning of my career as an interior designer. And then I have moved over the course of the years more into specific designs. I like designing things such as furniture, wallpapers, carpets, fabrics. My family is involved with fabric production. We own a furnishing fabrics firm called CNC Milano, with showrooms in different cities across Europe and America. I'm a partner in the company, and I designed some collections for them. Kazatska was a name chosen because of some sort of family history, and it's very closely related to the opera Tosca. And then from there down to my beloved late Tosca dachshund. And Kazatska became also the name. It seemed like a natural choice. It became a name for our furniture line that Christopher, my partner, and I created. We have always been passionate about rattan furniture, as we kind of grew up with it. And we decided to design our own line, and there was born Kazatska. And here we are, still going after 5 years, and looking forward to grow even further. Can we take you upstairs to the sleeping quarters? Follow us. So this is where we sort of come to dispatching our guests to their different suites.
And once they arrive, sometimes it's helpful to orient them. So we have this gorgeous map of Africa,
showing exactly
where we are.
Where Tangier is.
Just on the Strait of Gibraltar.
This is Spain, Portugal, Morocco, and Africa.
You can see actually on this map too that because this was done during the colonial period here, and Tangier was an international city, and the zone around Tangier was all Spanish, it wasn't French, and then there's French Morocco down below. So this area was kind of more Spanish than French, really.
And let us take you into the master bedroom. This actually is the second addition architecturally that we've done and last to the house. The house would finish here, opening onto a very sort of useless large terrace. So we decided to cover this bit and create like a small sitting area with a desk and keep a smaller terrace, which you can see out here, looking onto the former Italian consulate in Tangier. Funnily enough, by pure chance, I happen to be the neighbor of our former consulate in town. We found this fancy,
beautiful bed,
four-poster bed in Tangier at our friend Jerry Butler, who with his late wife Meryl
and son
have been dealing in this wonderful cast iron four-poster beds that in fact were made in England for the colonies, as very few people know. This one was made in London. It's still labeled with a sort of a Regent Street address and found in Tangier. And when we saw it, we fell in love with it. We still have one of my grandmother's summer bedspreads from her house in Milan, I believe. Anyway, I have a lot of these and love them.
When we were designing the room, we put in this fireplace in the corner, and Nicola very smartly used this method that's very common in Tangier, this raised fireplace, and it adds a lot of warmth to the room and really projects heat, which has been it's a godsend in winter, especially because we get some very cold, humid nights. It gets down to sort of the 50s.
In spite of being heated, this room is particularly cold, A, because it's facing north, and B, because I was stubborn and adamant about having the least possible number of radiators. But this is an interesting piece of furniture from Sicily. It's a little display cabinet and hand-painted, probably from the early sort of 1910s, 1920s. I'm very fond of this piece. I don't know, it's kind of jolly. And I like its architectural shape. It's like a miniature little building. Again, you can see a lot of CNC fabrics, the curtains, the sofa. The rugs come from Azila, from our, we have two friends, carpet merchants there. One is Bazaar Atlas, one is Omar. And between the two, we've sort of purchased all of our rugs.
Yeah, in the whole house.
Locally, in the whole house.
Nicola's collected this wonderful group of shells.
These are called Venus's ears. In Italian, because we're Catholic, we call them Saint Lucy's eyes, because the poor Saint Lucy was martyrized. Yes. Anyway, her eyes were taken out. Anyway, you find them on the Atlantic coast, and it's just the most relaxing hobby I have, taking long walks along the beach, looking for these.
This was found recently in a market. These amazing postcards from, you know, some ancient ones from all over the world. There's a lot in Morocco, but but also Spain and Japan.
So I fell in love with this silk, beautiful cover, which is nearly intact in spite of the age of this sort of photo album. These three watercolors I purchased when I was a student in London at an auction at Christie's South Can, which no longer exists, sadly. And they are watercolors by these British sort of late 19th century, early 20th century artists called Oliver Lamplow, and their views of Egypt by the Nile. I'm very fond of. And here we have one of our guest rooms. We recently changed its color. It used to be sort of more sort of orange, like a tangerine orange, which we kind of grew tired of. And so I've decided to go this red maroon hue.
Here you can see a beautiful example of both two things that are very Moroccan and very from Tangier. The tile floor, which, as Nicolo mentioned, is this cement tile that they hand make here in Tangier. This particular one is this gorgeous green and red, which has really inspired the colors of the room. And we have different tiles throughout the house, and they kind of set the tone for all the different rooms. And then in the shower, we have actually a tadlak, which is this finish that's produced here in Morocco using a special type of plaster mixed with egg even, and it's polished with stone. You can find it all around Morocco, and it's a great finish for the bathrooms.
And here we also have these lights that are made out of some Chinese headrests mounted as, standing lamps, sitting on our Kazatska Ciro table, bedside table, which is quite practical. And again, this bedspread was made by our little tailor in Tangier using bits and pieces and leftovers and little passementerie, velvet, linen, and so we designed this as a sort of a bed topper. And these old Indian fabrics was also purchased from our friend Gordon Watson. I'm very fond of it. Sadly, I have to be careful because the sun and the light are kind of eating it alive.
And then here we have two watercolors from our friend Gavin Houghton. Gavin, along with his great friend Joan, run these wonderful watercolor weekends here in Tangier, and these are two examples of Gavin's work from in and around the Kasbah. Here we have a North Italian cabinet armoire that we brought from Italy. But also equally, we've found so many beautiful things here in Tangier. So this is a sort of a chinoiserie chest, and it turns into a desk that we found at a local antique store. There's always things that turn up. There's been such an international community of people that have been living in this city for the past, well over 100 years, several hundred years. And there are always a trove of things that turn up at the antique shops in Tangier.
Before we go upstairs, I'd like to show you a little trove where we keep some of our fabric samples and sources of inspiration and cuttings and bits and pieces that then we mix, and occasionally we rearrange. And here we
forgot we had this one.
I know. And
we have to use this. Yes.
We will. So this is one thing, and this is a very odd North Tyrolean piece of furniture from the southern Austria. And I think we could carry on by venturing into a lift. And here we are. Welcome to the third and top floor of Kazatska. We did a full renovation to the point that we literally left just the outside walls on four sides and emptied the whole inside of the house and rebuilt it entirely according to our new plans. And the whole project took quite a long time. Especially the engineering aspect was quite important, as we wanted to have a sort of a small pool on the roof, which is the sunniest bit of the house for the longest time during the day, and that sort of forced us to literally build these 24 pillars that were like a belt around the house, were starting 2.5 meters into the ground, which is about 7 feet into the ground, all the way up, in order to sustain this relatively small, I call it my bathtub, but it's definitely a little larger than a bathtub, but not really a big pool either. So that was the main structural challenge that we faced.
So this is the pool, which required all of the columns. How many in total, Nicolo? For the
24.
24 columns.
Yeah, pillars, the pillars of Hercules to hold on our tub.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
That does make a difference, and we still think it was really worth it.
This stripe fabric, another use of stripe, comes from a local salesman here who whipped these up in a few days. These underneath come from Italy, which are these great day beds that we also produce for a few clients, and haven't yet made them here, but maybe that's the next project. Let's go upstairs and you can see the full view. So from up here you can see the view onto Spain and the Spanish coast. In fact, right now there's a ferry pulling in. This weekend we went to Spain. We discovered this amazing city called Ronda, which is built on this gorge. It's absolutely beautiful. But one of the real luxuries about Tangier is that it's about a 45-hour ferry ride over into Spain, and you can go for a day, for the weekend.
We're now sitting comfortably on these newly built banquettes that are also covered with this
Striped fabric from the local market.
yeah, sort of mattress-looking cushions covered with this local market waterproof fabric. So this is a bit, at the moment it's still hot. It's about 4 p.m. and in the evening it gets really the wonderful breeze. So we sit around here with friends and cocktails, and we had these tables, very simple tables designed with the same local stone from Sidi Kassem's quarry that we use in the kitchen and elsewhere.
When I first came to Morocco as an American, I felt immediately recognized. The Moroccans were the first country to actually recognize the US as an independent nation. And in return, the US formed some of its first treaties, which are still in existence, with Morocco. And in fact, just here in Tangier, we have the only building listed on the US National Historic Register that's outside of the US. And that's the American legation, which is the US's first diplomatic mission anywhere in the world. But Nicolo as well has this connection with Italy, being right next to the Italian consulate. And there's a wonderful institution, a cultural institution that's still owned by the Italian government that's here as well. And there's a lot of, the history of this city is tied up with the fact that it was an international zone for so many years. And it really does feel like a cosmopolitan city.
I decided to decorate this home with a lot of things that I had collected over the years, and also coming from homes that we no longer own. I had storages. I lost my mother when I was quite young, and she had several homes that we sold, but we kept what was inside. And so we have pieces coming from everywhere, and I really take a great pleasure at repurposing furniture and even fabrics. I mean, some of our fabrics in this house have come from, they've been repurposed from curtains in a Swiss chalet, have become like the headboard for a guest room bed, and so on and so forth. So I really enjoy personally to find a new place for everything that means so much to me, and also allows me to go around this house, and every time I walk into a room, so many memories from so many different places come back to me, and they're always wonderful memories. And I like this design aspect more towards a specific target rather than doing the whole project, but sometimes it happens, and I'm very happy to do it. I take a great pride into making one's home as if it had always been there, as if my clients had always lived there and owned what is in the house for most of their lives, and maybe, making it's building sort of a history, even if there isn't any. And what is most important for me is that you don't see my imprint, so that the house looks mostly the clients. And what it really, I've always made it a point, because I was, as I said before, I was so privileged in growing into such beautiful surroundings and homes, and that I feel like, you know, it was so inborn in me that I wanted to transfer it into my clients' homes, even if they didn't have the same past or the same privilege. I'm a mere conveyor of discovering what you like and what you don't, and so that's really been my major point, trying to make someone's home look as if it's always been their home and there isn't anyone else who's come in to help. I can admit one trademark of my whole career is my strong passion for colors. So there is no way you'll ever find a house where I had something to do with entirely white. I mean, white is kind of a, you know, I like it on exterior walls. On this Kazatska in Tangier is entirely white, painted, sort of whitewashed, painted outside, but inside there isn't a single room with a white wall. We are on the ground floor of the house, and I called my team from Milan, from Pictalab, with whom I work very closely on every project that I follow, and they came out to Tangier. It's their second time here, as they happen to have been here when we first finished the house. All of the colors were done with them, and all of the special finishes were also done with Pictalab. So they came here. This is the newest addition, and it happened this last September. So we're very pleased with it, and it brings a touch of, I think, of sort of a happy sort of reinterpretation of the outdoor green space inside.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful collaboration. I've seen you guys work together on a lot of things, and when you recently started your wallpaper, it seems like it was exciting for you to also work on this project together too.
Yes, also because, well, thank you for reminding me. Yes, we did several collaborations, and we worked on 3 wallpaper collections. In fact, the first one was re-editing my great-grandfather's Piero Portaluppi's famous entrance hall in our former family home in Milan.
So the floor tiles, as I remember, they were all made by the same producer in
town. Yeah.
Hand-stamped concrete tiles that were dyed. And do you remember watching him press each one?
Yes, I do. In fact, we changed the colors several times, and this is an old design from Tangier that exists, and we just simply rearranged the colors according to what we liked.
Amazing.
Really. The lights came from Tolpent, sadly a place that does no longer exist, but we worked for them over the years, and we gladly have a few in stock. And these 2 Parisian chandeliers, or lanterns really, have been keeping us company for the last 10 years.
Well, when Nicola recently worked with Ursula from Pictalab to redesign this room, it brought so much light in because it had been sort of this dark charcoal gray before. And the moment we changed it, it really transformed the space. And at night when we have people, we line the whole corridor with candles, and it sort of glows and has this really warm, welcoming feeling.
This is the lobby, and I take some pride in saying that we had this copy of the Campi Flegrei, Sir Hamilton's book, published in 1786 about Naples and its surroundings, for a long time, and all its beautiful plates, hand-painted, were basically enclosed in this book. And we decided we made a sort of a serious decision to take the book apart and frame each plate, and these 52 plates
fit just perfectly into these hallway, bringing a bit of my native country, Italy, and the south of it, like Naples and the Vesuvius. My grandmother on my maternal side was from Naples, and so I thought this was a nice anecdote.
It was certainly a lot to hang, but...
Oh, right, and thanks to you, Master Hanger, because I didn't do the hanging.
There's a cool thing in this room. We have, when Nicolo first had the room painted with Pictolab, it was this sort of plant full green scheme with all of these wonderful agaves and things, but
There's some left.
There's a bit left just in the corner, but it was a bit too much, and Nicolo took the drastic decision after it was done to repaint it, but we kept this lovely little tortoise. What about the fabric?
One of my favorite pieces of furniture. In fact, it's actually one also of the oldest pieces from Piedmont 1750s, in spite of this very modern design. This banquette used to be sitting in the hallway of the Palazzo in Torino, and it's a present from my dad. And
currently upholstered in CNC fabric that Nicolo designed.
Yeah, from my collection Grand Tour, my latest collection from CNC. This is the Mikado silk, which is in fact a fully recycled fabric called Trevera, and that reproduces the effect of silk. And I'm very fond of this banquette. I like the design of the back, which is incredibly modern if you think this was sort of conceived in the 1760s, 80s.
Welcome to the dining room. So here we have another room with some of these wall-painted murals, again from Pictolab, and this gorgeous table, which used to be black. Nicolo designed the table as well. And I remember one morning you came down and said, let's add stripes. Yeah. And I think it took us about a day. Someone came over and repainted it.
The beauty of Morocco and its craftsmen. We've got this fireplace that was inspired by a home that I previously owned in the northern Italian countryside, not far from Turin. And it's all made of plaster. So it's a complete sort of fake invention. And again, this room works very well at night when it's fully candle lit and, you know, full of our guests. Here you have your first sort of approach with our Tino chair that was created for Kazatska as the first dining chair. It's quite comfortable and quite traditional, I find, and works very well. This Etro fabric from Etro Home Collection was actually coming from my bedroom curtains in my chalet in Gstaad. And when we sold our home there, we reused the stripe in you will sit along, you know, our visit in different rooms. The Steinbock, is that called like a mountain goat?
Yeah.
From Switzerland. Again, they were sitting on a large dresser in the dining room in Gstaad. And here they are. In fact, these animals only exist in the Alps. But here they are, they landed in Morocco.
Well, there's a bit more of the Alpine theme here too with the...
Another memorabilia from Gstaad. So Gstaad came to Tangier, partly.
In the dining room.
Yeah, mostly in the dining room, yes. It's quite important to understand that social life in Tangier happens in private homes, mostly. There aren't as many restaurants as there are, for instance, in Marrakesh, or as one would expect to find in a city as big as Tangier. So it's really a lot about exchanging visits.
In August, we can wind up being, 25 easy for dinner, especially when, different people have their guests. But we tend to come all year round. There's always an excuse to throw a dinner party, and this room has certainly seen a lot of them.
we're actually going through the butler's pantry, and this is where we kind of arrange our flowers and keep all sort of glasses and things, and then we come into the heart of operations,
To the kitchen.
There is a wide array of objects in this kitchen. There are sort of taxidermy game from my great-great-grandfather, who's not very popular these days, but anyway, it used to be quite popular back in the 1910s and 20s. We've got all sorts of like tiles from Portugal, these architectural models from Switzerland.
These were actually the thesis project for carpenters.
This one and maybe that one over there also were actually architectural models of young students that would take it, as a kid said, as their own.
Yeah, once they completed their studies in carpentry, they would bring these models around to their future prospective jobs and say, "This is what I can make. Let me work on your house." It's always really enjoyable because we spend so much time working with craftsmen. It's very fun to see something so beautiful.
This fabric is actually from Cieci Milan, our fabric company. And again, it was recycled from my eldest son's bedroom's curtains in Gstaad. And he had a very large window, so we had a lot of this fabric, which we decided to use for the kitchen curtains, which hide, all the instruments for cooking. It's an easy, simple, sort of country-like way to keep things airy, and as we are by the sea, so it's kind of humid, so everything needs
very
to be
humid, yes,
open. You can't really have it airtight. We chose this yellow hue, which is a sort of mustardy yellow, really, and brings also some light because this room is quite dark. We only have a French door into the backyard, and
it was also important for us to have an eat-in kitchen, because when it's just the two of us, or maybe just with a friend as well, in the evening, it's so handy to.
That's right. We do sit here quite often when it's just the two of us.
Yeah,
does happen, fortunately. Oh, this table comes from Switzerland again. It folds, and it's actually meant to be against a wall, but we keep it open, and it comes from a boulangerie, sort of bread shop.
A bakery.
A bakery,
yes.
Thank you. Hello. Anyway.
Another special thing about this kitchen is the stone, which is a local stone called Sidi Kassem. It comes from a nearby quarry. And it's a porous stone. The guys who sold it to us really advised against using it in the kitchen, but in fact it absorbs any oils or things. It brings out this wonderful veining.
It gives this sort of feeling of life because it keeps changing and changing colors, getting darker, and the veins are coming through, and then eventually, it's always a bit shocking at first when the first stains happen. You're like, no, my new counter, and then again it gets sort of more homogeneous.
Yeah, homogeneous.
Homogeneous. Anyway,
and it all blends in.
We're very pleased with it.
Well, one thing that we're really blessed with in Tangier is an amazing market. So there's a lot of fresh vegetables in the central market of Tangier, in the Grand Soko, and there's also an unbelievable fish market. So throughout the year you have different seasonal fish. Crevette royale, big tunas, and they have big marble counters where the guy will be slicing an entire tuna. You get to pick which piece of the fish you'd like, or get to see what vegetables are in season, what flowers are in season. So everything that we eat here is very seasonal, and it's been a wonderful thing about cooking in Tangier.
Kit's a great cook, so he's the expert.
And thank God for that. I love eating, that's about it. I like this house very much because it's like a wedding cake. It's on several layers. And so you start at the ground floor where you have a small backyard that gives you shade and peace and green during the warmer months. It's also got this porch which allows you to sit outside even if it's raining. And so this in and out feeling. And then you start walking up. And as you start walking up, the light gets greater and you get a lot of light, and by stages. So you come to the first floor where we have a nice living room with several windows, and you start kind of grasping about the whereabouts of the house, which you don't really do from the ground floor. And the salon is painted pink, and then you have a terrace. And so that's kind of perfect for sort of mid-afternoons, readings, and great in the evenings with a big fireplace. And then again, you go to a second floor where you have sort of the sleeping quarters for guests and our own master suite, which has a terrace from which you start seeing the neighbors' roofs, and you start feeling the sea and the air, the breeze changes. And then finally you come to the top, and there you dominate entirely the Bay of Tangier and the Strait of Gibraltar and across to Spain and all of the city. And it's fantastic. So it's like being, like changing channel every floor. When I think of the word home, the first thing that comes to mind is a place where you feel safe and protected and happy. And that's what I think, for what it's worth it.
Homeworthy, thank you so much. It was great having you. And
Hopefully we'll have you back soon enough.
see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.